NFL Week 6 in the rear view mirror. Welcome into Got It Covered. Giovanni Heater alongside Raza Umarani with you. And Raza, a lot to unpack here in NFL Week 6. Doesn't feel like as much of a game-by-game type of a week, but the overarching storylines, there were a lot of them.
Yeah, it's not like what happened in the games necessarily. It's like what's the fallout from the games. I think my main takeaway is that this has been such a topsy-turvy season through 6 weeks. There's no undefeated teams, right? There's only one winless team. You could look at 15 different sets of power rankings and they'll all have different top 5s, top 10s. The orders are all over the place. It's it's been the least like linear. I know there's no like linear seasons ever in this league, but you get my point. It feels like the whole thing has been it just gets shaken up, shaken up. It's like dropping a Mentos in a Coke bottle every single Sunday. So it's been nuts. But more than anything, it's been fun. I mean, I prefer this season to the Chiefs and Eagles being 8-0 every year. So this is a lot more fun in my opinion.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I think the place to start, I think the biggest storyline right now in the National Football Leagues is, are the Buffalo Bills in trouble? This is a team that has dropped 2 straight. They really haven't looked impressive yet this season, Raza. And you break down their resume up to this point. This Buffalo Bills team, their wins come against opponents with a combined 3-17 record. The Ravens 1-4, the Jets 0-5, the Dolphins 1-4, the Saints 1-4, and oh, by the way, the Dolphins' one win came against the Jets, just for the record. So somebody had to win that football game, right?
And all those teams lost this week as well, right? The
That's
Jets
correct.
lost, Saints lost, and the Dolphins lost. So yeah, I mean you're right.
So the Bills, we came into this season saying, hey, maybe this is a Super Bowl favorite type of a team. They've been in that conversation for, it feels like, what, 5 years now?
Yeah.
Pretty much since about 2020 when they really arrived. I take you back to that Thanksgiving game against Dallas. That felt like, hey, we're here in 2019.
Mhm.
And ever since then, that's when Buffalo's been on the scene as a Super Bowl contending team. I would argue, Raza, this loss to the Atlanta Falcons, 24-14, the final score in Atlanta on Monday Night Football in front of a national audience, I would argue it was the worst loss of the Josh Allen era as far as how they looked throughout the game for 4 quarters of football. What do you think?
I think my knowledge of the Bills in terms of the last 5 years is less extensive than yours. I know that in 23 they started 6-6, and had to claw their way back into the playoffs to beat Miami in the season finale. And I'm sure along the way to 6-6, they had some games where they looked where they might have struggled. But like, I remember they played the Eagles that year and they lost because they missed a wide open touchdown at the end, not necessarily because they got like manhandled. This is the first time, to your point, in a while, if ever under Josh Allen, that it felt like the Bills were like just toyed with from start to finish. I mean, is Atlanta a good team? Clearly, but are they so good that they are completely pushing around Buffalo for 4 quarters? I don't know, because the first half, Atlanta's offense was on fire. I mean, you are a Drake London stretch away from it being what? Would it have been 21-7 in the first half, or just something like that?
I thought it would I no, it would have been 28, I believe.
Right,
I think it would
28
have
to
been
7.
28-7.
So the margin could have been bigger if things had gone slightly differently.
Right.
And then in the second half, uh, Bijan Robinson kept on doing his thing, but I thought Penix was like borderline bad in the second half. Like
The
got away
defense
with a
got a
couple.
lot better for Buffalo in the second
Right.
half.
But it's like they couldn't overcome A, the margin on the scoreboard, and B, their own offense sputtering. Is this the worst game the Bills have played in the Josh Allen era? Maybe. Is this the worst game Josh Allen has played in the last, I would call it, 2 seasons? I know the Houston game last year was like historically bad, right? It was like worst completion percentage in NFL history, but at least they lost that game by 3 points. Like they were competitive. This
Sure.
is what happens when Josh Allen plays poorly and the rest of the team isn't good enough to kind of lift them up. The Bills are one of these teams where I feel like if the quarterback is not Superman, they can't overcome their own mistakes or inadequacies across the board. So What is the problem, do you think? It's not that they can't run the ball because their rushing offense is extremely efficient. Is it that they're not getting James Cook the ball enough? Is it like the lack of receiving threats finally catching up to them? Because Keon Coleman has his highlights this year, but hasn't really taken the jump. Or is it the defense like not playing up to par? If you had to pin it on one thing, because Josh Allen's earned the benefit of the doubt. He can have a bad game every
Sure.
now and then. Okay, Patrick Mahomes has bad games. Patrick Mahomes just threw a 99-yard pick six on Monday Night Football to lose. Like these guys can get away with bad games, in my opinion. If you had to pinpoint it in on a non-Josh Allen reason, what do you think it is?
Well, that's the tough part about it is I think you spelled out three of the biggest issues, right? I think the biggest problem, no question about it, is the fact that their run defense in particular has been porous. Not poor, not atrocious. Porous is the best way to put it because there's these gaping holes game after game that players are running through. And I know Derrick Henry's a great running back. And I know that Bijan Robinson's a fantastic, super talented back as well. But this rush defense is towards the bottom of the National Football League, and it has been a huge piece of their struggles. I think another piece of their struggles, again, is Josh doesn't have weapons. Now, I'm trying to be sensitive of the injuries here. Banged up on defense, and as soon as you get one guy back, another guy goes down, right? Especially on that defensive line. And no Matt Milano in this game, and you're still playing behind the sticks in a way with your first round pick and Maxwell Hairston not going through camp and not touching the field yet this season. So you never got the ball rolling as far as injuries went if you're Buffalo. But what I would say to that, man, on the defensive side, it's the same guys every year. I've watched Matt Milano sit on the bench way more than I've seen him take snaps in a football game for the Buffalo Bills the last 3-4 seasons. And if the same guys year after year keep getting hurt, Tre'Davious White hurt all the time, right? It's like
That's what I was going to say.
there has to be a deeper problem, whether it's the individual players or the strength and conditioning, whatever it may be. Like you have to look at that. And then on the offensive side, like trying to be sensitive to Josh of the fact that no Kincaid in this game, right? No Curtis Samuel. Joshua Palmer gets hurt in this game, and you don't know when you're going to get him back now. Question marks for all three of those guys. Okay, those are three of your best receivers, right? And pass catchers. And then James Cook, he carries the ball 17 times in this game. But why do you go so far away from him in the second half, especially when you got the ball rolling a little bit? Like, I know they were down, but they started running the ball.
Problem.
No, but they started running the ball with James Cook early in the second half, that first drive, and it felt like the wheels were churning. And even Chris Fowler and Dan Orlovsky and Louis Riddick on the broadcast are like, there's James Cook. Now we're seeing it. He's getting rolling. Can he get on a move? And then they just go away from him. And it just didn't make a ton of sense because they were enough in the game, I thought, that you could still run the ball. And to your point, Raza, never really had a chance to be in it. Never had business being in it, I think is the fairest way to put it, right? Because that should have been a Drake London touchdown. It is a heck of a play by, I want to say it was Taylor Rapp, that knocked him out of bounds, right? Never gave up on the play. Should have been a touchdown. Wasn't. Great play defensively. And then on the contrary to that, you gave a gift. Greg Rousseau goes and blocks that field goal, keeps you in it. And then you go pretty much 3 and out and give him the ball right back. So trying to take pressure off of Josh, but I don't think this is one game is the problem here.
Right.
You lost last week to New England. Okay, good football team. You lost this week to Atlanta. Okay, good football team. These are not world-beating Super Bowl contending football teams, and they looked better than you. This is 2 weeks in a row. And you could argue that this has been 3 weeks of really sloppy football for the Bills. Raza, 30 penalties in the last 3 games for Buffalo.
That's crazy.
It's preposterous. Crazy. And that's so unlike the Bills, right? I don't want to keep going on this tangent, but I have to get it off my chest with Buffalo. I'm starting to get in the camp, and I'm a big believer that the grass isn't always greener and whatnot. I'm starting to get in the camp of maybe it's time to move on from Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott. And not just Sean McDermott.
The tandem completely.
The tandem completely. And here's the reason. Name historically Super Bowl winning teams that don't have star players beyond their quarterback. It doesn't really happen. Like, even Ben Roethlisberger was throwing the ball to Santonio Holmes, who was making plays in that Super Bowl, right? Mahomes has always had Kelsey to throw the ball to, and you could have a list of receivers. Tyreek Hill, of course, being a big part of that. Brady always had guys, whether it was Gronk or Edelman or Amendola, like always had guys, or Wes Welker before that, right? Always had guys to throw the ball to. Manning won a Super Bowl by throwing the ball, of course, to Marvin Harrison, right? Like the list is so extensive. Josh had that with Diggs. The window was missed in that era of Buffalo Bills
Yep.
football, but they've yet to reinvest in that in any way, shape, or form. And I know Josh is more expensive now, but I'm finally in the camp. I'm over everybody eats. I'm done with it because you don't have a guy that can take a game over. Keon Coleman's not that guy. You have to go get somebody. I think at this trade deadline, they're going to have to go get somebody. They went and got Amari Cooper last year. I think they need to go get a wide receiver. No question about it. I'd love to grab a couple of defenders as well. Maybe because they're so banged up, continue to help the defensive line. A corner wouldn't be bad. But I think primary number one, you have to go get a wide receiver because this is a league where you need stars. Like the Eagles have 2 or 3 star wide receivers. AJ Brown and Devonta Smith are household names, and
Yes.
Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts. And then on defense, what they have as well, like teams that win it big have stars. And
Yeah.
I for so long thought like, okay, the Bills don't have stars because they're in Buffalo and it's blue collar and they're never going to get that kind of love. And like Matt Milano's a great player and he's like an all pro type player, but he's never going to get that kind of respect. And like same with Tre'Davious White in his prime, right? Like all pro Bowl level player that's just never going to get the same love as like, no, forget that. If you want to win and you want to win a Super Bowl, you need star players outside of your quarterback. And I'm finally slipping into the camp that they are wasting the prime of one of the greatest quarterbacks in the history of the National Football League, particularly in the postseason with the performances and the numbers that he's put up. And that's Josh Allen. And they're wasting the prime of such an elite talent.
I don't disagree. I think it's a good point you make that like when these teams win the Super Bowl, it's like, yeah, their quarterback is largely the reason why. I mean, like particularly in the case of like Mahomes and the going back to back against the Eagles and the 49ers. But like you need to have the roster around them again to elevate when the quarterback's not Superman. Like Josh was not, he wasn't just not Superman on Monday night. He was not good on Monday night. I think the last interception you can throw out the window. It's 4th down. He's trying to make a play, and the pass was deflected. But the first interception was not good. And I understand he's rolling to his left and it's a tough throw, but you're Josh freaking Allen. Don't flip the ball past the line. You need to throw the ball past the line because if you flip it and it's short, that's a bad look. And that's exactly what happened. And when I went back and watched the condensed game yesterday, I was like, why is he not just like I've seen Josh Allen roll to his left and throw a dart 100 times. Why is he not? Why is he trying to make the SportsCenter top 10 play? Like that felt like old Josh Allen, not current Josh Allen. So I think it's a combination of factors. I do trust them to get it back on track. It helps that the schedule is pretty soft still. It's not like they're facing a murderer's row where everybody's going to test them and they're going to have to get right immediately. Like they've got time. I mean, I'm pretty sure they have a bye week coming up, so they can get this thing back on track if they just coalesce. But I agree with you that these aren't becoming just one-off bad games. These are becoming trends, and they're going to need to figure it out sooner rather than later.
Question for you here. So Josh in this season so far, and here's some jarring numbers for you. Now, this is the Bills in total. First 4 games, 4-0, averaging 33.3 points a game, 1 turnover. The last 2 games, of course, they're 0-2. Their scoring production has dropped all the way to 17 points per game, and they've turned it over 5 times. Some of the credit I'll give to Atlanta, no question, is their ability to rush the passer. They got after Josh. I mean, they were in the backfield. Josh had no time. They had a serious impact on this game. Raza, Josh has been sacked 11 times this season already. And the offensive line hasn't changed much for Buffalo. Josh has been sacked 11 times this season already. He was sacked 14 times all of last year, including the postseason. 14 sacks last year and now 11 already, and you're what? You're 6 games
6 games
in?
in.
That's a trend. That's a trend.
That is a trend, and it's almost strange because, like, Buffalo has been fantastic at running the ball this year. I think they faced some solid pass rushes. Like, I think that this young Falcons defense is clearly pretty good. But I don't know. There's so many things you can attest it to. I'm not ready to declare that the sky is falling in Buffalo just yet, but I completely understand the idea of, again, these aren't just aberrations; they're becoming trends. That's a staggering graphic you just put up because it shows just how non-Bills like and non-Josh Allen like they've been in the last 2 weeks. Whereas you see a team like Kansas City figuring it out on the fly. Now they're going to get Rashee Rice back. And it's like, oh shoot, Kansas City's like all the way back.
Right.
So it could be worse. You could be the Ravens, but I get what you feel is like, man, this is setting up for that inevitable loss of the Chiefs again. Which
This does not look like a team that can beat the Chiefs team we saw on Sunday.
I agree. I completely agree with you. Now, granted, I think the Chiefs are probably the best team in the league right now.
I agree.
With the way they're playing. And I think Patrick
I
Mahomes
agree.
he's the odds on favorite to win the MVP right now. So not everybody is the Chiefs, but
Right.
I mean, this is the type of team that's going to lose a playoff game if they play like this and they can't control the
100%.
ball and they can't get, again, Superman production out of Josh Allen and they neglect James Cook and all these other things. Like somebody's got to step up. They've got to maybe find a receiver, but I don't know who you could find that's going to elevate that room a ton. So it's tricky. It's troubled waters.
It really makes you look back and think, man, you had Diggs. Okay. You had the receiver. The run game wasn't bad. That was always kind of their weakness, but no team is perfect. Right. And you had the number 1 defense in the NFL. That was the 13-second season. That was the 13-second season. Last question on the Bills, and then we can of course move on. Bad game or bad sign? You pretty much spelled out your thoughts on it. You said that it's looking more like a trend, but you think they'll turn it around. I think
they've earned the benefit of the doubt.
I do feel like they'll turn it around, and it's not going to be a bad season. But I do think unless they make some changes or the guys who get back, like they got Ed Oliver back in this game, so that was everyone was like, oh, the run defense will be shored up once Ed Oliver's back. And I know Milano was gone and you lost a different defensive tackle and things like that in this game, but it's like, okay, everyone pointed to Ed. When Ed gets back, it's going to be okay. Don't you worry. Ed played. He was on a snap count, but he played, and they got run through. Like, I think it's a bad sign.
I think maybe I'll give it one more game.
One more game.
The reason I think
this week.
Exactly. I think that's a good thing. I think the problem, to your point, is that the teams they've beaten are bad teams. Like, can the Bills put it together against a competent opponent? That remains to be seen in 2025.
We're going to have to wait a little bit to find out. They don't.
That's also true.
They play the Chiefs November 2nd. So fascinating stuff. Want to give some love, though. It's only appropriate to give some love to the Atlanta Falcons because you do have to applaud them for this performance. And it does feel like these primetime games give players and teams the platform to arrive.
That's right.
This wasn't a 1:00 game. And the Falcons took that and ran with it. So kudos to them. Bijan Robinson was unbelievable. It was the Bijan Drake London show. He was fantastic as well. Michael Penix looked good. Their defensive line and their pass rush and their blitz packages and stuff was ridiculous. You have to tip your cap to the Falcons because this now, in my opinion, I think Buffalo has its issues, but I think it's still a great football team. Upper echelon in the league, no question. Falcons took it to them on Monday Night Football. Now we got to look at Atlanta as possibly a little bit of a noisemaker in the NFC here.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell happened in that building after they lost 30-0 to Carolina, but they've come out and looked like offensively they've been fantastic. Their defense, I think, was not great against Washington, giving up 27 to Mariota, but then they went into the bye and came out and smothered Buffalo. So, like, I don't know. I like consistency, I feel like, has always been the issue for Atlanta, even last year. I understand that was with Kirk, but even in this game, they come out all gangbusters. Second half's a little more quiet, particularly from the passing offense. But in that first half, Penix was throwing darts, namely to
Yeah.
Drake London. You talk about everybody eats being overrated. I agree, dude. Sometimes the way to cook in the NFL is to play buddy ball. Darnold and JSN, Penix and London, Allen and Diggs. Maybe that's the key to success. But for me, the two big takeaways
Now
are
it's
like
May and Diggs. Look at
that's
last
a
week,
real yeah, that's a really good
you
point.
know?
My two big takeaways with Atlanta here is that when that defense plays well, which again they need more consistency, like you see the trade for James Pierce, and all those other draft picks that they made, like they really pay off on that side of the ball, and like Raheem Morris can really shine as a defensive mind. But most importantly, it's that like I think Bijan Robinson is currently the deadliest weapon in the NFL. The combination of his shiftiness, his speed, that good offensive line. Kyle Pitts was a monster in the run game. In this game, there's a clip that was going around of like him just throwing Taylor Rapp to the side. And then again, like Bijan, I saw this when they played the Commanders. It's like he doesn't look like he's running full speed, but he's faster than everybody on the field.
Yeah.
And he throws off Cole Bishop on the sideline trying to make that
Dude,
tackle like it's nothing.
that was
A
bad. I mean, great play by Bijan, but
little bit of
that
both. A
that,
little bit of
that
both.
can't happen.
It can't.
And he had him around the hips. This is the National Football League. Cole Bishop got little broed big time.
He did. So Bijan Robinson is on pace for over 2,000 yards from scrimmage. There's a reason why I said he should be the number one pick in everybody's fantasy drafts. In half, I said in full you should take CD, and I'm looking like a dum-dum for that because George Pickens is tearing it up. But Sedarian's been hurt, so we give him some grace. But Bijan's been amazing. So if the Falcons can keep this up, dude, the Bucks are lucky that they've banked these early wins because that division race could be a little tighter than we envisioned. But consistency's always been a problem for them. I still don't trust Penix fully, and I certainly don't trust Raheem Morris. So great win for them, great back-to-back wins for them, but let's see it continue, particularly against like the better teams they're going to play in the NFC.
Kind of the same story in New England. Everyone was like, all right, we've seen it. This is a huge arrival. Now the best teams, the elite teams, they stack these.
That's
and
right.
this is week after week. So we'll find out. If you had to make a projection right now, playoff team or not playoff team for Atlanta?
I think the NFC is too deep, so I'll say no.
No.
Because I don't think they're going to win the division, and I still don't think they're better than Green Bay, Seattle, the Rams, Washington, Detroit. Like there's too many good teams in the NFC is the problem.
I'll say no, and literally the only reason I'm saying no is because of the quarterback. Because I feel better about their weapons and their defense than a lot of the teams you named, not named Seattle and maybe Green Bay. I just don't think they have the quarterback for it. But Seattle's defense is cracked. Green Bay's defense is cracked. The weapons, though, London, Bijan, Pitts. It's deep. It's deep. And the defense
and a great offensive line.
And a great offensive line will always help you out, or be the death of you. Speaking of the death of a team, my boy was going through it on Monday night. My friend, I'm going to let you take the floor here. I'm sorry. All I can tell you is I'm sorry. It was a rough night for the boys on Monday Night Football because neither one of us had very much fun.
No. I mean, I was there. Obviously, we've talked about how excited I was. And
I would just like to say as well, I didn't hear from this man for like 36 hours, and I began to become concerned for his well-being. I thought I was going to have to do a well-being check here.
Dude, so I dug myself. I made my bed and had to lay in it. I talked so much crap going into this game. I could not open my messages app because I was being flooded. People were saying some mean-spirited things to me because I said mean-spirited things to them in the lead up. And that's, folks, this is a lesson in not counting your chickens before they hatch.
I didn't say anything mean to you. I just told you I'm sorry, and I hope you're doing
no, but a lot of people, because I wasn't mean because you're not a Bears fan. I said a lot of things to a lot of people, and it's come back to bite me. The chickens have come home to roost. So I was there. It was lit, honestly. The fans showed up. The blackout, I feel like, was a success. I was not wearing black, so I can't say I played a part in it. But I mean, it was windy, it was misty, it was cold. for October the 13th, and the place was still lit. And it didn't matter because this felt like both an old school Redskins type of loss and the new school Commanders type of performance, because you had both. They have made a point of emphasis to stop getting off to slow starts. But Gio, if I'm being completely honest with you, so can I ask you a question? What
Please.
quantifies a slow start in your mind? If I told you the Bills got off to a slow start, what would be the narrative in the first quarter or the first half?
I think 3 and out or not advancing the ball past midfield, but 3 and out would be, a pretty telltale sign. But I think you can bounce back from that. I think a true slow start would be like a scoreless first quarter, and you really never advanced the ball far past midfield and had a threat to score. That's on offense. And a slow start defensively is if you dig yourself a hole and you're down, 7 or 14 or 10.
Yeah, so the narratives have been that Washington's been getting off to slow starts. They were down 10-0 in Atlanta. They were down 10-0 in LA. They were down 17-3 in Green Bay.
Those are slow starts. I feel like those are slow starts.
I think those are catastrophic starts. That's not slow. That's not even getting out of your
Fair.
stance. It's not even getting off the blocks.
Okay. Valid.
Combine that with, so this game's 13-0 in the blink of an eye because Jaden throws a very uncharacteristic red zone interception, which, by the way, if Jaquan Brisker doesn't undercut it and pick it off, I guarantee you Kevin Byard is going over the top and picking it off. Jaden Daniels is not the type of quarterback to force a ball. He would 100% force that, and I don't know what he saw. After the pick, I just followed him with my eyes, and the whole walk back to the sideline, he's just tapping his chest. He's like, "That's on me." Yeah, dude, that is on you. You can't throw that ball. I don't know what you're doing. And then the first play of the next drive, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt fumbles the ball. It's a second fumble in as many quarters, and then bang, Caleb Williams runs in a touchdown. It's 13-0 before you can even think. And that's what felt like the old school Redskins start. But then you saw the new school Commanders from that point on outscore Chicago 24-3 over the next 2 quarters and change, because Jaden Daniels started the game with an interception. From there on out until the end, obviously, which I'll get to, I thought Gio was like pretty close to perfect. I mean, he only had a few incompletions, one of which was like 2 of which were just clear drops by Chris Moore, who I can't believe we're still playing a line share of snaps. They couldn't run the ball, shockingly. The whole week, I'm like, yeah, they're going to run all over Chicago. They could not run all over Chicago. The offense bounced back. I thought Jaden played fantastic. Obviously, 3 passing touchdowns. He was good with his legs. And the defense was not good, but at least they came up with timely plays. Like they sacked Caleb Williams on the 3rd and 1 at the end of the end of the third quarter. And then when they come out in the fourth quarter, they block the field goal. They go down, score touchdowns, 24-16. You have all the momentum in the world. If you go blocked field goal, touchdown to go up by 8 with 10 minutes left, you should probably win. But then what happens? The defense gives up that inexplicable long touchdown to DeAndre Swift on a 3rd down.
I don't know how. That's another bad tackling display.
Yeah.
We both had
Quan Martin is just I don't know, man. That's a regression that feels weird. Again, just push him out of bounds. Just throw your body weight into him. If you want to try and wrap up and make a tackle, that's great. But you could push him out of bounds and they all count the same. And then you get the ball back, you punt. It's just bad, man. Like you had it right there, even still. You're up 24-22. They're driving, they're chewing the clock. Bears are starting to call timeouts, right? We get down to a 3rd and 1 in the plus side of the field. Ben Johnson's calling timeouts, and they come out in the pistol. And the first thing I said, I turned to my uncle who I'm at the game with, and I'm like, I hate that they're in pistol here. He goes, I know. And I go, what's your call? And he goes, they just gotta trust Bill, run it up the middle. And they wanted to, but they couldn't because the ball slips out of Jaden's hands. Chicago falls on it. They go down, score the game-winning field goal to walk it off. So I want to say really briefly, just because the Commanders turned the ball over there did not lose them the game. Chicago still has to drive into field goal range and win it. The defense just let them have it. On that last drive, DeAndre Swift had 5 carries for 34 yards. Chicago faced 1 third down. It was a 3rd and 5 or 6, and it was the easiest completion you've ever seen to Colston Loveland to move the chains, or maybe it was Cole Kmet. It's like that. Not only did Washington not force a turnover in this game, Gio, they didn't force a 3 and out. And I want to say that they forced 2 punts, and one of them was at the end of the first half, where the half was essentially over. So I feel very similar about this team as you do about the Bills. When the quarterback is not Superman, the rest of the team is not good enough to win. And I understand they're dealing with injuries. Deebo Samuel's clearly limited right now. They couldn't run the ball. Terry McLaurin's not out there. Noah Brown's not out there. The defense has its fair share of injuries. They need Jaden to be everything for them to win. And when he makes a mistake or two, which he's only human, he's going to make mistakes, the rest of the team falters. So again, I thought Jaden bookended his performance with terrible, uncharacteristic mistakes, but in between was like pretty close to flawless. And it doesn't matter because those 2 mistakes. Listen, I'm not going to absolve Jaden Daniels of blame here. This is the first loss of his career that I think can be blamed on him. I will not place all the, because I think that the defense, man, it's bad. I don't know if it's scheme. I don't know if it's personnel. There's so many things you could point to, but it felt like a perfect blend of old school Redskins loss, new school Commanders come back, and they all just blended at the perfect time. And yeah, it was a brutal game to be at for a multitude of reasons. I don't know that this team can make the playoffs if they are going to play like that defensively.
Well, 6 games in, a lot of football left for both of these teams, Buffalo and, of course, Washington. The only thing I thought was a little ironic is you were texting me before how much of a psychopath you were. You're like, it's raining. I love the rain. And you're like, I love
And I
the cold,
did.
the rain.
I
And
did.
I'm like, what kind of a person wants to sit in the rain? I'm like, I can't join you in that camp. I love chilly weather. Don't like being in the rain. And you're like, I love the rain. Give me the rain. Then they fumble it twice, and one of them loses them the game. And I was like, that was a product of the rain, my friend.
Yeah. And now my narrative is
Never rain
RFK
again.
2.0 can't come fast enough, and it can't have a closed off enough roof.
Yeah.
Because gosh, I mean,
How you guys built a stadium with a roof and Buffalo didn't is beyond me, but I'm glad Buffalo didn't because you need snow games in Buffalo.
I think this lower third kind of tells the whole story, Gio, because I think that Washington made like 5 major mistakes in this game. And if they don't make one of them, they probably still win, right?
Yeah.
3 turnovers, a missed field goal, a couple of drive extending penalties for Chicago. Like if one of those things doesn't happen, they're fine, particularly either the missed field goal or the turnover at the end by Jaden Daniels. But they made all those mistakes, and that's the reason why they lost. It's an unfathomable, inexplicable loss against a team that you are clearly better than. Clearly. Yeah. Bears fans win this battle. I don't think Caleb Williams outperformed Jaden Daniels. I just think Jaden Daniels made mistakes, and Caleb Williams didn't, to his credit. I think the coaching is clearly working in Chicago. They're a more sharp operation,
I
and
agree.
they completely flipped the script on Washington. They're the team that couldn't run and couldn't stop the run, and they gashed Washington on the ground and completely smothered their traditional run game. And Washington didn't have a great traditional drop back game because they're missing their top 2 wideouts. Yep. So this team needs to get healthy, and they need to figure out this defense because it's a problem. I don't think Jaden Daniels is going to make these mistakes consistently. I think the Jaden you saw in between the mistakes is the Jaden you typically see. So I'm glad we're doing this today. If we were doing this on Tuesday,
would have been a disaster.
Yeah, it really hurt, man. But I tell you what, when watching that field goal go through the uprights and watching the Chicago sideline spill out and the Bears fans on the visitor sideline going crazy, you know what I was doing? I was laughing.
Oh, you laughed. Usually you cry.
No, I was Listen, I went through like 5 sticks of gum in this game. I was so stressed. Um, and I'm just chewing my gum. I was leaning back in my chair and I was just like, I was laughing. I was like, I couldn't believe they lost. I was like, I cannot believe they let this game literally and figuratively
Fumble.
slip out of their
Yeah.
hands.
Yeah. Yep. No question. Well,
So
the
I'll
prime
ask you, bad game or bad trend?
bad game.
Because the defense, I think the defense is becoming a bad trend. I think the turnovers are a bad game.
Turnovers are a bad game and a product of the weather. Like fumbling twice is one of them where
Yeah,
you could clearly see
Jaden
it slip
doesn't
out of
fumble
his
that
hand. Yeah,
indoors.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Jaden doesn't fumble that indoors. But I mean, again, 4 of 6 games they haven't forced a takeaway. They didn't force a 3 and out in this game. They only have 3 takeaways on the season. That's bottom 3 in the NFL.
Yeah.
They're slow. The holes in the zones are massive. And when they're not getting that key takeaway at the key time, it means that they're just going to keep on giving up points. There's too much of a burden on Jaden Daniels' shoulders.
I hear you, and yet they lost the game by 1 and lost the turnover battle 3-0. And this is a team that was winning games without Jaden Daniels too. So,
But what happens if this same performance happens in 2 weeks in Kansas City? They're
okay.
going to get crushed.
Okay, you said bad sign or bad game. I thought it was a bad game. You didn't ask me if they were going to go beat the best team in the National Football League in Arrowhead.
Okay, well, what happens if this happens next week in Dallas? They're going to get crushed.
They're going to have to outscore Dallas.
Washington is the 26th ranked total defense in the NFL right now. That is doing your sophomore quarterback no favors. Again, he's human.
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah.
He's going to make mistakes, and
I think
I
this is
just
still a
think
playoff team. So in that regard, I'm going to say bad game rather than bad sign. Because what is the expectation? Did you think they were going to win the Super Bowl? I didn't.
no, but now I'm not sure if they're going to make the playoffs.
I think they'll make the playoffs.
There's a huge difference between 4-2 and 3-3. It's a game you can't lose to the Bears at home in prime time, like especially
Well,
the way
maybe the
you
Bears are
lost.
better than we thought they were.
The Bears still don't move me. Like, I'm sorry. I mean, I watched that team. I thought the Commanders' best defense in that game was Caleb Williams being errant,
Sure.
and you can bank on that happening because he's still not a
Still a freak
polished
athlete. Yeah.
quarterback. But that's not a successful defensive strategy because next week you got to play Dak Prescott in the world-beating Dallas defense. World offense, certainly not defense. Somebody texted me yesterday, Washington Dallas is 1st to 30. I said, no. It's
First
first
to
to 40.
45.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
1st to 4. It's going to be like the Lions playoff game. Whoever can make a turnover in the key moment's going to win. And I don't trust our defense. But I don't trust theirs either. So just take the over and close your eyes.
Well, you mentioned the Lions, you mentioned the Chiefs. Primetime games supplied pretty much all the storylines this week, at least from Sunday on. Let's go ahead and talk about the Lions and the Chiefs game. Kansas City takes it to them. 30-17, the final score. KC flexing its muscles in Arrowhead once again, man. It felt like we were watching a game from 3 years ago, 4 years ago. This felt like vintage Mahomes, vintage Kelsey, even at times, vintage Andy Reid. This felt like the Chiefs. So my question to you is, are they inevitable once again? Because the Chiefs, to me, look like they might be the best team in the NFL the way they're playing right now, and they certainly look capable at another run at another Super Bowl.
Kansas City is the best team in the NFL right now. Yes, they are a 3-loss team, but the 3 losses have been pretty wonky. And you hate to play the if and buts or maybes game, but like all 3 games coulda, shoulda, woulda gone differently if not for like one thing. You know, like if Travis Kelce doesn't kill Xavier Worthy on the first play of the game in Brazil, if Kelce doesn't drop the ball in week 2, if Mahomes doesn't throw a pick on the goal line, or if they stop Jacksonville, like Kansas City is better than a 3-3 team. We all know that. Like, I don't think there's going to be a set of power rankings you look at that's going to put them 1, but I think we can like all agree that because again, there's no like undefeated team, there's no world beating team right now. Kansas City's got to be number 1 right now in terms of just the perception. And again, they've earned that benefit of the doubt. Now they get Rashee Rice back next week. They're figuring it out offensively. This is I mean, it's crazy to say this because of how prolific he's been, but you might agree with me just because of the circumstance. This is like the most impressed I've been with Mahomes in a while.
I
Because
agree.
before it was like, oh, his numbers aren't that good, but they're winning games. Now it's kind of like the opposite. They're 3-3, but he is playing quarterback at a very high level. He's running the ball extremely well. I'd love to see him avoid taking some hits, but he's Mahomes. I guess he can just take it. Um, I think he's playing the position at such an advanced level. He's very worthy of being the odds-on favorite to win MVP like he is right now. I know Baker is right there. He's number 2. But the Chiefs are the way they are right now because of Mahomes. But on the flip side of things, like their defense is also starting to figure it out. I feel like as it
Mhm.
pertains to the Lions, my main takeaway was this is Dan Campbell. This is kneecaps and drowning your opponent and all this other stuff. The Lions are bullies. This is the first time I feel like the Lions got bullied. You do not see this very often. I also recognize that, okay, their first touchdown got taken off the board because of a penalty. I thought it was a fair call. It's just a weird time that they called it like after a conference. Everybody's like, "Oh, you can't do that." I'm like, guys, every intentional grounding that's ever been called is called 30 seconds later because the referees have to confer and see that they all saw the same thing.
Right.
So just because a flag's not thrown at the snap doesn't mean a pre-snap penalty can't be called 30 seconds later. People just have their conceptions about the Chiefs and the officials and stuff like that. And then the Amon-Ra St. Brown drop on the 4th down, the Lions would have gone up 17-6. Instead, it's 13-10 at half. Then the Chiefs get the ball first to go up 20-10. And it's like, shoot, we missed our opportunity. So I'm not going to sit here and say that the Lions were like completely dispatched in this game, but because of the way it went, it's like the bullies kind of got bullied a little bit. They got pushed around in the run game. Mahomes got whatever he wanted through the air, finished I think 22 of 30, had 4 total touchdowns. Like this says a lot more about the Chiefs than it does the Lions, in my opinion. We always play the game bad. We just did it earlier, right? Bad game or bad trend. Totally a bad game from Detroit.
Yes, I agree.
This is more about Kansas City being Thanos. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like
Yep.
they are inevitable. Listen, they were my pick to win the AFC, and Mahomes was my pick to win the MVP award. We're on that trend right now, and that's just the Chiefs, man. That's just who they are.
Raza knows who. I think the thing about the Chiefs outside of the play of Mahomes that has impressed me the most is their ability to adapt. 13 penalties last week in Jacksonville. Zero. Zero penalties against the Lions on Sunday. How do you turn that around like that? I mean, that's Andy Reid. That's coaching.
And also remember how Chris Jones took that last play off,
Yes. That
essentially
which was
against Trevor
terrible.
Lawrence, and the media was, you know, after him for it. He was like, "No, we're going to be better." Chris Jones was the best player on the field
Yeah.
outside of Patrick Mahomes on Sunday. He was dominant
Yeah.
against a good Lions offensive line, admittedly weaker on the interior, but a good Lions offensive line. And the Lions injuries always play a factor here, right? They were playing Giovanni Heater and Razo Marani at outside corner in this game, but still,
We could lock it down though.
yeah, I mean, I got a good length, I would say. I can get my hand in there. So it's really impressive that the Chiefs are turning it around like this. They are going to be hard to stop if they play at this level. So they just got to keep it up. I think they're inevitably going to find themselves at the top of the AFC West very soon here. And they should be everybody's pick to win the Super Bowl right now because there's no other team in the NFL that you can look at and be like, yeah, they can beat the Chiefs on a neutral site in February.
There isn't one right now.
There is not one.
No.
Is it the Colts? No.
No. Give me a break.
Tampa Bay? No. Like
No.
the closest thing would be Buffalo, but they've now dropped 2 games in a row. Like we spent the whole first 20 minutes talking about why Buffalo's not going to the Super Bowl. So and still there's 2/3 of the season left.
Right.
But Kansas
I'm
City
still
is
holding out hope that the Bills go to the Super Bowl.
right. But think about through 2 weeks, we were like, oh, the sky's falling in Kansas City. And even I was like, I'm not going to panic, but I can't exactly defend them right now.
Right.
This is why you just can never jump ship. with
Yeah.
the Chiefs because they're always going to figure it out.
Last thing about this game, just worth noting, the Brian Branch situation, the post-game brawl, that
Yeah.
took a lot of the headlines. Probably disciplinary action from the league coming.
Yeah, he was suspended for a game yesterday.
Oh yeah, okay, there you go, there you go. I missed that. Good kid, just can't do it in the moment. But this is the point I wanted to bring it up. This is what the Chiefs draw out of people. If the Lions were playing Jacksonville at 1 o'clock on a Sunday, that doesn't happen. But it's the
Mm-mm.
Chiefs. It's the way the game went. It's an Arrowhead. The Chiefs are like the Patriots in the way that they draw that out of people.
Yeah,
And
these guys hate them. The
yeah,
players don't like Mahomes. This started because he didn't shake Mahomes' hand.
right.
And then Juju comes up to him and is like, "You'll shake my hand." And he slaps Juju in the face. I think Juju embellishes a little bit,
Of
and then the
course he does.
scuffle ensues. But like, Branch needs to know better. That's a Saban kid right there, and he's stacked up a lot of disciplinary fines over his young career. So he needs to know better. But you're right. It's the Chiefs in Mahomes in particular, for these defenders, especially, just Mahomes gets under their skin because of the way he plays and the way he like manipulates defenses. Like when he's running to the sideline to either draw a penalty or initiate it's scummy what Mahomes does, but he's just using the rules to his benefit. I personally don't like it. I'd rather just play the game normally. But it's easy to see why, to your point, they draw these reactions out of guys.
Yeah, for sure. Games that stuck out to you. I want to go that 1 o'clock window very briefly. Seattle at Jacksonville. Just so impressed with Seattle's defense, man. It felt like Jacksonville was playing from behind the sticks all game long. 7 sacks out of Seattle's defense, 7 tackles for loss. How about this? 17 quarterback hurries. You compare that to Jacksonville. They didn't get after Darnold. Darnold had a clean pocket,
Mm-mm.
only 4 quarterback hurries. Jacksonville also had 10 penalties for 76 yards. They went 4 of 16 on third down. Like Seattle's defense was so impressive. And then Sam Darnold slinging it, man. I thought one of the best throws of the year to this point was that ball to JSN. Super impressed with that. And Seattle goes 1 of 12 on third down in this game offensively, and it like doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It's just I'm really impressed with Seattle. Is my biggest takeaway.
Yeah, they're playing exceptional hoops. I've said it for weeks now. Their defense just pops off the screen every time I watch
It
them, with the
does.
exception of the Tampa Bay game, I guess. Seattle's 4-2 with 2 losses on the last play of the game. So it's a pretty good team, man. Mike McDonald's doing a ridiculous job of coaching that defense. Sam Darnold is vindicating all of the people were like, oh, they downgraded to quarterback. Nope. And JSN is having a ridiculous season. Front runner
Yeah.
for offensive player of the year for good reason. Like he's hooping on a level that, very few people are. So that's good for them. I think the other game that stood out to me the most was the first game of
Yeah, I
week
was gonna
6,
say,
right?
goodness, it was almost a week ago, but we got to clap it up for the boys, the G-men.
They did me a solid. I was like, oh my God, now we beat Chicago on Monday night. We're in first place. Nope. Now we're 12th in the NFC. So shout out to the Giants. Listen, Dart and Scat are changing the culture and saving jobs in New York. That's
Dables.
a huge
Yeah.
testament to them. And this defense, I think, is playing pretty well. Brian Burns has been phenomenal this year off the edge for them. And obviously Dexter Lawrence is a beast. I still think Thursday night's a little bit more about the Eagles. The wheels are coming off there. Nobody likes each other. The locker room's a disaster. Jalen Hurts is still speaking in Sun Tzu quotes in his post game. Sirianni looks like lost and confused every time the camera pans to him.
It's so true.
Jalen Carter not playing in this game clearly had an impact, but is it that big of an impact when you lose Jalen Carter? I know he's a great player, but is it each time
No.
they've played without him, they've been gashed on the ground. But it's not like they haven't been gashed on the ground when he is playing.
Yeah.
Like I think it's impactful.
I
But
don't think
am I
Jalen
supposed to
Carter's
believe?
worth 17 points. They lost by
Exactly.
17.
I was just about to say that. I'm not going to sit here and say the Eagles win the game if Jalen Carter doesn't.
Yeah.
If Jalen Carter plays. So, I mean, I did my power rankings yesterday. I have the Eagles at 16. they're not a top. They're
Wow.
not a playoff team to me right now. Because
Wow.
they got away with so much in the early going. You're seeing what happens when every ball doesn't bounce their way. Turns out they're just not great. I think that secondary still sucks. I think the offensive line is struggling. The run game is clearly struggling. And you're seeing that when the rushing threat is not there and teams can actually play defense against the pass against these wide receivers and make Jalen Hurts beat them, he can't.
Yeah.
You just can't, which makes the Super Bowl that much more strange. But that was because their defense was fantastic. This is what happens when the run game's not there and the defense isn't good, right? Like, which is a situation that Hurts has not had. Maybe you could point at 2023 because that defense stunk, but the run game was okay with DeAndre Swift. And what are you seeing? These are 2023 type of losses for Philadelphia. So I just don't have faith in them that they're going to magically fix everything. I think they have the coaching to get it done, but I think that offensive scheme is a disaster. And I think Sirianni really needs to get his ducks in a row. So we'll see with Philly, man, because it's fascinating right now. I don't have a lot of faith in them.
Pretty nothing game, but the Buccaneers beat the 49ers 30-19. Baker and the boys just keep it rolling. They move to 5-1. Again, the Niners are kind of decimated by injuries. Never felt like it was in question for the Buccaneers. Ravens lose again, 17-3, the final. They only mustered 3 points on offense in this game. They dropped to 1-5. Feels like to me that's the nail in the coffin. But we'll see how it continues to shake out. Panthers, in my opinion, upset the Cowboys. I expected the Cowboys to win this game. 30-27, the final score. So Panthers get one. Dallas, I thought, had a chance if the defense could just right the ship a little bit because of how prolific their offense had been, would have a shot at the playoffs. I don't know. You can't lose to Carolina. They drop now
Yeah.
to 2-3-1.
How does Eberflus still have a job? Like,
That's a
he
fair
should have been
question.
every week. He should be getting fired. Shout out to Rico Dowdle. He talked the talk and then walked the walk. That
Yes,
is a revenge game to remember. They
no
might just get it
question.
with the Rico. So that was dope.
For sure. Chargers beat the Dolphins. Mike McDaniel's going to be the best offensive coordinating hire for some lucky franchise when it's all said and
Probably.
done. Yep.
Probably.
Colts win again. They take down the Cardinals. Poor Arizona, man. I don't know the exact number, but they're in every game and they just find ways to not win them because they're 2-4. But man, they've been so much more competitive than that. And then you look at a team like the Eagles that's 4-2 and have barely won every game that they've won. So just
Exactly.
fascinating. But the Colts get it done again. They continue to roll. I'm not like fully sold yet, but we'll see. That pretty much wraps it up, other than the fact that we got to touch on this at the end here. The Titans
Mhm.
fire Brian Callahan, 4-19 record as the Tennessee head coach. Of course, they had one win this season. It came last week after another loss this week at the hands of the Raiders. They said that was enough, and
Mhm.
Mr. Callahan is out of employment.
Yeah, what have I Yeah, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say I really don't think this is on Brian Callahan. The amount of
I don't.
turnover in Tennessee, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts. The amount of turnover in Tennessee, I don't know how you could possibly succeed. I saw a chart the other day, and I should have clipped it, and I didn't. Saw a chart the other day. It's like dating back the last 3 years, right? GM gets fired, new GM. Head coach gets fired, new head coach. GM gets fired, new GM. That head coach gets fired, and now there's a new head coach. And it's like, how there's no sustainment there at all between the GM and the head coaching positions. You're just constantly turning over front office and coaching staffs like it's nobody, like literally year after year, essentially every 2 years in a 4-year span. Like how do you succeed there? I just felt like it was doomed from the get-go.
Yeah, I had this conversation with somebody. I'm like, I still think Tennessee is in a position where they can succeed in the long term because I think they made the right GM hire this offseason with Mike Borgonzi coming over from Kansas City. That's a guy I wanted to take over the Washington GM vacancy back in 2024. And I think they've got the right quarterback because I think he's talented enough to do everything in this league. But then you're seeing how bad it can be in a game like he had this past week where he was atrocious. I think it's on Callahan. I mean, I've said for the last several weeks, like every week we're playing the "Is this Brian Callahan's last game?"
Right.
card. And after going out in the post-game presser and saying, like, everybody's to blame, is this like even Cam Ward, like all this other stuff, like he's throwing his rookie quarterback under the bus. That's when it felt like we're at the end of the line here. So I mean, I've seen this coming for weeks now. You could argue it could have happened at the end of last year. It's now 4 straight number 1 overall quarterbacks who have had their head coach fired midseason, which is crazy to think. Like, these guys, when you're picking first overall, you're being thrust into a bad situation. Chicago's a little bit of an exception because that wasn't their pick, right? That was Carolina's pick that fell into their lap. But anybody could have told you Eberflus wasn't the guy in Chicago. So this is the right move for for Tennessee. And I think that this is going to be the most interesting head coaching hire of the offseason because of Cam Ward.
Sure.
They need to get a quarterback whisperer. When I got this notification, you know what the first thing I thought of was?
Who?
This feels like a Cliff Kingsbury job. He likes molding young quarterbacks. He tried to do it with Kyler. It didn't work. He's done it with Jaden Daniels.
You think he's getting another head coaching gig? He feels like so much better of an offensive coordinator than a head coach.
I agree.
In the NFL.
I agree. But if you're him, you want head coach money, don't you?
Yeah,
like,
of course.
He's in a situation I personally would not leave. And I'm not just saying that. Like, we've seen him suck as a head coach. And you're going to be taking a risk on Cam the same way you took a risk on Kyler. You know what you have in Jaden Daniels. Another name I thought of was Joe Brady. I know you don't want that, but he's got to be a head coach.
Joe Brady to Penn State, apparently.
That would be interesting. Joe Brady going back to college.
Because the ties of actually the Bills owner, Terry Pagula, huge Penn State donor, and apparently was forked up a ton of money for the buyout of James Franklin. So it's like, okay, I'll give a bunch of money for you to buy him out, but I get to have a big say in who's coming in. I don't know why he would do that to his National Football League franchise, but maybe he loves Joe Brady and wants to help him out.
Yeah, maybe.
I think that's a long shot, but just something I read that wasn't on Twitter. It was an article.
I think depending on how their season goes, / how hot of a name he becomes, I also kind of like Mike LaFleur for this job. Not Matt LaFleur. Mike LaFleur, the Rams offensive coordinator. Yep. Because you probably want to go somewhere where you get out of McVay's shadow and try to prove yourself a little bit. So, yeah, a lot of interesting guys that could take this job. I just think it's kind of poetic that the Titans' first game with an interim head coach, Mike McCoy, is going to be against their old head coach, Mike Vrabel. Patriots might win this game by $1 billion because he's going to come out and be like, see?
Yep. Yeah. So, I still can't believe they ever fired him. But.
You talk about a guy that wasn't the problem. It was freaking Vrabel. The last thing I'll say is I think there's a certain team in the Big Apple that can take notes. I think the situation with the Jets is becoming like just pretty much.
You think Aaron Glenn's not going to last much longer?
No, Aaron Glenn screams one and done to me, which is a shame because I came on here and said I thought Glenn was the right hire. He's a former Jet. He's a culture guy. I think he's over.
I think there's deeper problems than Glenn, to be honest.
I think it stems with Glenn. Obviously, they have no quarterback, which hurts.
And they're just wasting Garrett Wilson.
Mm-hmm. I would cut ties with Aaron Glenn. I would start Tyrod Taylor if I'm being completely honest, and I'd look forward to Lenoris Sellers, I guess, Fernando Mendoza, whoever you pick at number 1 next year, because Fernando. I'm ready to call this experiment over.
Fernando could be a franchise changer.
You never know. He's got a program-changing head coach. He's learning the ways.
Yeah. Where can the people find us? Anything else that you want to discuss before we let them go? We've gone an hour here.
I think I'm good. I've lost in fantasy by less than 5 points in back-to-back weeks. If Jaden Daniels didn't throw a pick or have that fumble, I would have won this week by a point, but I'm not allowed to have nice things. In that same vein, Washington was my survivor pick this week.
Oh, no.
I'm now eliminated, so there's money I will never get back. So, yeah, I've reached the point in the season where I'm like, maybe football is just good thing it doesn't matter. It's like I can still go just be my own person. I can focus on being the best me I can be.
But
At
are the
that point
Bills in
in the
trouble?
football season. They might be, man. We might both be in trouble. But in any case, to follow our downward spiral into the abyss, just follow at Got It Covered FB on all socials, Instagram, TikTok, LimeWire, etc.
Napster.
Um, you know, we're getting some good traction on the YouTube videos, so would love if that could continue. Any likes, subscriptions, comments, shares go a hell of a long way in terms of growing our audience. Engagement in any way goes a long way. So appreciate everybody who's been tapping into these YouTube videos and
Yeah.
interacting with us on the socials. That's our bread and butter. So again, we're gonna keep it rolling, and we might be insane asylum patients by Thanksgiving, but that's all for the fun of the game. So just got to keep it going and see how it all transpires. But let's pray for better days ahead, better weeks ahead.
I think we're gonna have that. I was saying I could really use a beer because I haven't seen a football win for one of my fandoms since September. And I know it's only the 15th of October, but between Syracuse football, Virginia Tech football, and the Buffalo Bills, it's been a rough 2-3 week stretch here. And now the Bills have a bye, and I don't think Virginia Tech or Syracuse is winning this weekend. So it's going to continue, and we
I think
might.
Virginia Tech has a bye too.
Oh, then it's really probably going to continue.
That's true.
So because I don't know if
The
Syracuse beating
orange,
Pitt. So
no,
yeah.
that's not happening.
Anywho, everything he said, you know where to find us, and we got you covered.